The Galactic Council had convened for war before, but never for fear. The Hall of Concord, a hollowed moon-turned cathedral of diplomacy, vibrated with a symphony of alien voices, clicks, hums, roars, and colors that pulsed like nervous heartbeats. Massive holograms hovered above the chamber, depicting burning trade routes, shattered listening posts, entire systems falling into silence. And at the center of it all floated a single, simple symbol. A blue and white planet. Earth. "They've rejected the ceasefire," croaked High Speaker Velrix of the Koth Dominion, his translucent throat sacs trembling. Again. 1,000 eyes turned to the human delegation platform, empty. No ambassadors. No diplomats. No ceremonial gifts. Just a ring of polished obsidian, untouched since the humans had walked out 72 standard hours ago. "They cannot do this," hissed Ambassador Keela of the Varn Collective, her mandibles clicking with fury. "They are a junior species. Barely 3 centuries warp capable." A low, dry laugh rippled through the chamber. It came from the Archivist AI, an ancient machine intelligence observing the council. "They are not rejecting talks," it said evenly. "They are rejecting you." Then the first transmission arrived. Not a plea, not a declaration. A broadcast that cut through every channel simultaneously, overriding centuries of protocol. The image resolved into a human male, gray-haired and scarred, wearing a simple dark uniform with no insignia. He stood before a backdrop of steel and dim red lighting. No flags. No emblems. Just him. "Galactic Council," he said, voice steady, almost tired. "This is Admiral Marcus Hail of the United Terran Defense Authority." A ripple of unease swept the chamber. Some species instinctively recoiled at the predatory precision of his eyes. "You've asked us to negotiate. You've asked us to show restraint. You've asked us to forgive." He leaned forward slightly. "You sanctioned the bombardment of Earth's outer colonies. You voted to classify 12 billion civilians as acceptable collateral to preserve balance." His lips twitched, not quite a smile. "So here's our answer." The feed cut. For a heartbeat, the chamber was silent. Then space itself seemed to scream. The first council listening station died before anyone understood what had happened. One moment it was there, a ring of super-dense alloys bristling with sensors. The next, it was replaced by expanding debris and a wound in spacetime that took minutes to stabilize. "No energy spike detected. No hyperspace transition." "No," a Technari analyst stammered. Another station went dark. Then another. "They're inside council space," someone shrieked. Defense grids considered inviolable were being dismantled piece by piece. Not overwhelmed. Disassembled. The archivist spoke again. "Historical comparison. Human warfare doctrine emphasizes escalation through demonstration." High Speaker Velrix's tendrils curled in horror. "This is a demonstration." "Yes," the machine replied. "They are being polite." 3 systems away, aboard the human dreadnought TDS Resolute, Admiral Hail watched the same data scroll across his tactical display. Around him, officers of every age stood silent and alert. Commander Rees muttered, "Council's panicking. They're trying to form a joint fleet response." Hail nodded. "Let them." "Sir," another officer said cautiously, "Phase 1 is complete. No civilian casualties. Minimal infrastructure damage." Hale's jaw tightened. "Good. We're not monsters." He paused, voice dropping low. "They taught us that lesson the hard way." A young lieutenant hesitated. "Permission to ask, why didn't we just talk? Show evidence? Push for sanctions?" Hale fixed him with a gaze that carried decades of war. "Because," he said slowly, "they don't listen to words. They listen to consequences." He tapped the console. "Proceed to Phase 2. And with that, the galaxy shifted. The first battle lasted 7 minutes. 7 minutes to erase the myth of galactic invincibility. The Council's rapid response fleet, 80 capital ships from 6 major powers, emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. Their commanders expected desperate human resistance. Perhaps a suicidal charge. Maybe a last stand. What they got was silence. No hails. No warnings. No visible enemy. Then their sensors began to lie. Targeting solutions unstable, barked a Varn captain. Multiple contacts, no ghosts. Human ships phased into existence inside the formation. Not from hyperspace. Not from anywhere they recognized. From nothing. The vessels were ugly, angular, armored like scarred beasts. No lights. No insignia. They didn't maneuver with elegance, they lunged. Railguns thundered, firing tungsten slugs at relativistic speeds. Shields, considered inviolable by even the most battle-hardened fleets, evaporated under the sheer kinetic impact. Hulls ruptured. Atmospheres vented into the void. One alien cruiser attempted a ramming maneuver. A human frigate matched its course. At the last second, the frigate split in half, modular sections peeling away as the alien ship sailed through the gap, straight into a minefield that hadn't existed a moment before. Predictive algorithms, a junior officer stammered. They're anticipating our decisions before we make them. On the Resolute, Commander Rees exhaled slowly. They're hurting them. Hale nodded. Always leave an exit. Makes prey predictable. By the time the smoke cleared, 30 Council ships were obliterated. 20 more crippled. The humans lost 3. Back in the Hall of Concord, chaos erupted. This is genocide, screeched Ambassador Keela. No, the Archivist AI corrected. This is coercion. A new transmission appeared, live, unblinking. Admiral Hail again. We've neutralized your enforcement fleets, he said. We've mapped your defense algorithms. We've hacked your supply chains. He leaned forward slightly, voice low, deliberate. You still want to talk? High Speaker Velric stammered. What do you want? Hale's expression hardened. You don't get to ask that anymore. The feed cut again. But humans didn't just strike at military assets. They went after symbols. Massive shipyards reduced to inert skeletons. Financial nodes emptied, accounts zeroed without explanation. Entire propaganda networks replaced with footage of burning human colonies, those the Council had dismissed as acceptable losses. Messages scrolled across human channels, dark humor lacing every word. Dear Galaxy, we tried diplomacy. Didn't stick. Turns out acceptable losses are negotiable. Yet amid the fury, humans showed selective mercy. On the fringe world Keros 9, a human marine unit escorted alien refugees to safety, species whose governments had voted for Earth's destruction. A Kerosi elder stared at a bloodied human sergeant. Why help us? The sergeant shrugged. You didn't vote, old-timer. Politicians did. He smirked. We're at war. Not stupid. And that was the essence of humanity the galaxy had never understood, brutal, precise, but not blind. Calculated chaos with a moral compass only humans could read. In the corridors of command aboard the Resolute, Hale stared at the stars, unflinching. You think they'll stop us after this? Rees asked quietly. They'll try, Hale replied. But fear is a faster teacher than reason. And we've been patient long enough. A pause. Hale's gaze hardened. Next phase will hurt. But it's the only way to ensure they remember. The galaxy had just learned a new truth. Humans didn't ask for permission. Humans didn't negotiate. Humans didn't forgive easily. Humans didn't beg. And the Council had underestimated them, again. Day 9 began quietly, almost innocuously. That was the mistake. The Council believed the humans had exhausted themselves. They thought the strikes, the surgical destructions, the humiliation, were the climax. They were wrong. An encrypted transmission rippled across every channel, decoded too late. Humans have activated the aegis protocol, the Archivist AI announced. Cross-referencing historical data. Aegis is not a weapon. Relief flickered across alien faces. A protocol, not a weapon. Perhaps negotiation was still possible. Wrong again. It is a policy, the archivist continued. A conditional framework for all future human contact. Admiral Marcus Hail appeared on every feed simultaneously, seated calmly aboard the Resolute. His gray hair was streaked with age and ash, eyes unyielding. You built your civilizations on hierarchy, he said. On councils deciding who matters. He steepled his hands. We built ours on something simpler. The feeds split to show human ships dispersing. Thousands of them. They weren't attacking. They were distributing. Autonomous defense platforms deployed across council space. Medical stations. Navigation beacons. Open source technologies. Free to use. Then came the catch. The platforms, the beacons, the lifelines, they responded only to species that had not voted for the annihilation of human colonies. For those who had voted yes? Their ships malfunctioned near human installations. Weapons systems locked down. Navigation rerouted. Engines refused to engage. Permanent exclusion, enforced with silent precision. The Hall of Concord erupted. You can't do this! Ambassador Keela screamed, her mandibles clicking in panic. Hale's expression remained cold. We already did. Across the galaxy, the meaning sank in slowly. This was not revenge in the petty sense. This was structural. Surgical. Permanent. Ships crippled without casualties. Economies rebalanced without war. Every vote, every political decision, every act of aggression accounted for and answered, not with emotion, but with physics. Privately, some human officers questioned it. This isn't revenge, Commander Rees whispered as they watched the Council fleets withdraw in disarray. It's restructuring the galaxy. Hale's eyes scanned the void outside his viewport. They wanted balance. We gave them accountability. And maybe, he admitted softly, a chance to be better. Even the survivors of the Council fleets couldn't argue. Every step forward required adherence to human rules, or exclusion. No treaties. No treaties. No surrender ceremonies. No peace talks. Just a galaxy reshaped quietly, inevitably, by the species everyone thought they could crush. And through it all, the humans acted with a dark humor the aliens couldn't parse. We tried diplomacy. Didn't stick. Turns out acceptable losses are negotiable. It was a lesson etched in fear and respect alike. Humans were not predictable, humans did not forgive lightly, and humans did not beg. On Caros 9, a small child of the rescued alien refugees asked Sergeant Vega, hands trembling, "Why did you spare us?" Vega's face was smeared with soot and sweat. He smiled faintly. "Because you didn't vote. The rest, they chose differently." He paused. "We're at war. Not stupid." That phrase would echo across the galaxy for decades, whispered in halls of power and fear. Meanwhile, Hale prepared for the final stage, withdrawal. Phase 3. He murmured, hands on the console. We leave them with a choice they didn't think they had. His officers nodded. Their victory was total, but it was quiet. Calculated. Merciless, in the way only intelligence and patience could make merciless. And above all, it was unmistakably human. The Council had learned something terrifyingly simple. Humans did not follow the rules of other species. Humans invented their own rules. And when those rules were enforced, no empire could stand unchallenged. No vote could escape consequence. No council could claim control. Humans were chaos, patience, and precision all at once, and they were just getting started. The war ended without fanfare. No surrender ceremonies. No flashing holos of triumph. No treaties signed under the eyes of cameras. Just silence. Council fleets withdrew. Systems stabilized. The Hall of Concord slowly emptied, its authority shattered. The ancient laws, the centuries of protocol, the grand declarations of power, irrelevant. The galaxy had been rewritten by humans, and it wasn't pretty. Years later, historians would debate, had humanity saved the galaxy, or had it broken it? Trade routes flourished in unexpected places. Old empires, unable to adapt to a universe where their power no longer mattered, withered quietly. New alliances formed, but humans were at their center, not as rulers, but as arbiters of consequence. On Earth, Admiral Marcus Hail retired quietly. The war had aged him more than any enemy. He sat on a porch overlooking the skyline of a rebuilt colony, the sun glinting off sleek spires and familiar industrial silhouettes. An alien diplomat, gray-scaled, 2 meters tall, from a species humanity had once barely noticed, joined him. Her eyes held a mixture of fear, awe, and curiosity. "Do you regret it?" she asked. Hale considered. The weight of billions of lives, the judgment of countless worlds, the choices that had reshaped civilizations, it pressed against his chest like gravity. "We didn't conquer them," he said finally. "We scared them into growing up." He sipped from a glass of dark liquid, letting it burn on his tongue. "They underestimated us," she pressed. Hale chuckled darkly. "Galaxy underestimated us. Thought we were loud, emotional, short-lived. Thought we begged. Thought we could be reasoned with." A pause. His gaze drifted to the stars, glittering with the distant light of civilizations that had survived by luck and politics. "They were right about all of it," he said softly. "Except one thing." She tilted her head. "What's that?" "Humans don't beg." That simple truth had reshaped the galaxy. It had toppled empires, redefined alliances, and rewritten the very calculus of power. Hale leaned back, eyes narrowing on the horizon. "And some lessons," he murmured, voice almost a growl, "are only learned the hard way." In the depths of former Council space, alien fleets recalculated. Every political move, every vote, every fleet deployment was now filtered through a terrifying new reality. The humans might not be coming. But if they did, they would not ask. They would not negotiate. And they would not forgive. A distant transmission flickered across long-abandoned frequencies. Hundreds of species decoded it in fear. It carried a simple, unmistakable message, broadcast in dozens of galactic languages. "Do not test us again." And for the first time in recorded history, the galaxy listened. Because humans weren't just warfighters, diplomats, or strategists. Humans were chaos incarnate, patience incarnate, and precision incarnate. Humans were unstoppable. And the galaxy had learned it the only way it could, the hard way.